As I've said previously, Hunter x Hunter is one of my top anime series ever, and its Chimera Ant arc is a personal favorite story of mine. It's by far the most progressive, ambitious, deep and mature arc of the series. I recently did an analysis of Meruem's Royal Guards and their contribution to the story, so check that out if you're interested. However, in this video, I'll be talking about two more characters of the Chimera Ant arc that contribute to the narrative extensively, yet are truly underrated by many fans of the series. These individuals are characters that aren't discussed or debated about too much, yet if they were absent from the show, there would definitely be a certain something missing from Hunter x Hunter. Now, without further delay, let's talk about Shoot and Knov. Shoot is a character whose characterization and development is usually overlooked, for reasons I'll get into here. Shoot is a man that tends to initially deceive the watcher regarding the true essence of his character. From the outset, he comes off as a bit stoic, kind of the classic reserved and badass character who does whatever needs to be done in any given situation to come out on top. However, this is all a facade. In fact, this quiet but badass persona is nearly the exact opposite of what Shoot is really like. Yet, this is not initially obvious because many of his earlier scenes have the focus shifted on someone other than himself, usually Gon, Killua, Morel, or his larger-than-life partner Knuckle. Due to this, not much of Shoot's character exploration occurs in the earlier acts of the Chimera Ant arc. However, when the action ramps up, a boatload of character development and deconstruction for Shoot hits the audience like a truck. As we find out during the castle storming sequence, Shoot is, quite simply at his core, a coward and a nervous wreck. He's not ruthless. He's quiet because he's timid. Throughout his life, Shoot has never taken advantage of his situations simply because he has never strayed from his psychological comfort zone. He's lucky that he's had the more authoritative and dominant Knuckle and Morel to lean back on, because without them he would likely be nowhere. Yet this internal dynamic soon shifts drastically. Similar to Yuppie, the vast majority of Shoot's development occurs within one fight and within a minuscule amount of time. The trigger that sets off Shoot's development is Gon. In seeing Gon's reckless abandon to put himself at risk to benefit his allies, Shoot is overcome with inspiration and emotion. This is a breakthrough moment for him. This inspiration fires him up, and for the first time in his life, he goes all out in a fight and doesn't hold back. This is a big step. Leaving it all out on the battlefield and allowing himself to let go of all hesitation has opened up a world of possibilities for Shoot. This development unlocked his potential, both as a fighter and as a person. Not only is he able to establish a meditative and calm state of mind during battle, allowing him to push Yuppie to his limits, but Shoot personally has his life changed by this leap of faith. Within a few minutes, he turns into a completely different person. And by that I don't mean that his personality has changed, but I mean his attitude has changed. And that in itself is a huge feat. It's often said that throughout one's life, the hardest obstacles to overcome are personal and psychological ones. Changing your mindset can be excruciatingly difficult, but once it's achieved, it's like a whole new world. This idea is illustrated through Shoot's character arc, and perhaps this is what Togashi was going for when he wrote Shoot. The way his mindset completely changed through his inspiration for Gon is a gigantic personal achievement for Shoot, and one that many watchers may tend to overlook. It's not a completely original idea for a character arc, but it's truly effective in displaying all of the subtleties associated with a character like Shoot. Shoot is often overlooked in favor of some of the more primary characters of the show, but he's such a technically sound and complete character. In a story like the Chimera Ant arc, which is full of character development, Shoot is one of Hunter x Hunter's characters that develops the most, which is quite an achievement in itself. Not only this, but his character flaws and his journey in overcoming them is so true to life and human. In an arc as dark as the Chimera Ant arc, Shoot's character journey is important for tonal balance. It adds an element of personal triumph and hope to an arc that can be desperately dark. Knov is introduced to the story in a very understated fashion. He's calm, intellectual, and assured, perhaps verging on arrogant, but his character is constantly overshadowed by the huge personalities of the characters around him. Characters like Netero, Morel, Knuckle, Gon, Killua, and Palm are also bold and bombastic in their characterization and more distinct in their character design than Knov. As such, while he is a core character with a significant role, he's very rarely the most important person on screen. Due to the understated nature of his early journey, Knov is pretty much the quintessential support character and almost never the focus of any given scene. That is, until his big moment. And I'm sure most watchers will know which moment I'm talking about. Knov's mental breakdown after being exposed to Poof's malicious aura is one of my personal favorite scenes in the entire show. This scene does so much right. First off, it's a welcome reminder of the gargantuan threat facing the Hunters. After spending so much leisurely time with Meruem, Pito, Poof, and Yuppie in the middle act of the arc, a good portion of the watchers, myself included, nearly forget about how powerful they were. At this point in the story, Knov is displayed as an experienced, strong hunter, and a calming influence. Seeing him completely lose it and deteriorate as a character is a shocking reminder that the Chimera Ants are beyond powerful, and probably out of the Hunter's league. This resets the tone to a much more serious and tension-filled atmosphere in preparation for the final showdown. This scene is undoubtedly one of the most human moments I've seen throughout all of anime. While Knov was in a defenseless and vulnerable state due to his use of Zetsu, his reaction to Poof's aura is so ironically shocking because it's so unbelievably human. Funnily enough, we tend to not expect most characters in anime to act like genuine human beings, so when they do, it tends to hit home. Knov plucks up enough courage to place his portals, but after he's struck by this fear, he does no more than he needs to. I appreciate this so much because of how true to humanity it is. In an arc like this, in which one of the prominent themes is that of humanity and mankind's true nature, it wouldn't have made sense for Knov to do anything other than run. We all have a primitive and psychological internal fight-or-flight system, and when facing an enemy with power that towers over our own, flight and avoidance is the only answer when it comes to survival. Would someone like Morel or Knuckle have been quite as traumatized as Knov after this experience? Maybe not, but given the knowledge that we're presented with throughout Hunter x Hunter about Nen and the Chimera Ants, it's an entirely appropriate response. Lastly, I love this scene simply because it's a cinematic work of art. The mix of music, visuals, cinematography, voice acting, and dialogue all blend together flawlessly to create such a breathtaking scene that's a big point in the arc and a turning point for Knov himself. Knov's mental breakdown is tremendously underrated as a narrative tool, a tone setter, and a cinematic piece. After this moment, Knov is changed disturbingly and permanently, but it must be said that he does persevere and muster up plenty of courage later. As the arc draws to a close and Knov realizes that his allies are in mortal danger, he steels himself and ends up being a big reason as to why the Hunters survive the battle with their lives. Even if every fiber in his body was telling him to stay as far away as possible from the ants, Knov perseveres. The fact that Knov pushes through here is quite admirable. It takes a good deal of courage and mental strength to face one's absolute fear, especially after a breakdown. As I've said, Knov starts out quite cocky, lecturing Gon and Killua about their inexperience despite being brutally in over his head and receiving a devastating reality check himself. Like many other characters in the Chimera Ant arc, Knov's character arc goes through great lengths to humanize him. Overall, and in my opinion, Knov is actually one of the more well-crafted characters in Hunter x Hunter. He's sympathetic and sad, but also courageous and mentally resolute, which is ironic given his mental breakdown, but still true. His downward spiral and redemption is reflective of many of the ideas that Togashi presents through this series and through this arc, and is totally engaging to watch at the same time. Shude and Knov are two of the unsung heroes of the Chimera Ant arc and Hunter x Hunter in general. Their character arcs are deep and thematically relevant, yet integrated into the show in a way that makes them stand out in their own ways as well. The two aren't as hyped up as some of the other characters because of the intricate and understated way that their characterization presents itself, but they don't have to be. They're the types of characters that aren't the frontrunners for the series, yet through their thematically significant arcs and their role in the story, they build foundations for the more prominent characters to bounce off of, and they allow the big moments to shine all the brighter. Hunter x Hunter is a series so full of imagination and diversity that I never tire talking about it. I mean, in my 2 videos so far, I've talked for 30 minutes about this series, and I've only scratched the surface, talking about a measly 5 characters and 1 arc. There will undoubtedly be more Hunter x Hunter videos coming in the future, but if anyone has any suggestions about any characters they'd like me to analyze, any story tools, or any themes that they'd like me to talk about, feel free to leave a comment, whether it's about Hunter x Hunter, another anime, or even video games. I can't guarantee that I'll do everything, but I'll take anything into consideration. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing for more anime and video game content, and check out the other videos on my channel for some cool stuff on Fate Zero, ReZero, more Hunter x Hunter, and some Witcher 3. Again, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.